It is on, but very unstable.
Okay, good morning everybody. Double header, B'Habach Kosai. Perich Chavov Pasuk Yud Aleph. I saw a very beautiful shot from Moshe Feinstein and Dorish Moshe on a very interesting point he says in the Parshat. As you know, B'Habach Kosai talks about there's brachos and Rachmana Litzlan there's klalos. In the brachos, in the blessings, it says, talks about, we do everything we need to do, and so on and so forth. We're very successful, to be shalom baritz, and so on and so forth. And then it says, V'nasati mishkani b'sochachem, I'll place my dwelling, there'll be a Beis HaMikdash, and so on and so forth. V'lo sigol nafshi eschem, and I will not object you. And the question is, what's this language of lo sigol nafshi, I will not object you? We're talking about, I will not reject you. We're talking about brachos. So while we're talking about the brachos, while we're talking about you listening to the mitzvahs of the Torah says, and I'm not going to go ahead and be sigol nafshi. That language of lo sigal we find later on when it talks about also the language of sigal. But what is it doing over here? What is it doing in the middle of the brachos to say, you're telling somebody you're doing everything right? You're listening to the mitzvahs. And you're going to be getting blessing number one and blessing number two, and I'm not going to reject you. What do you mean not going to reject you? It's not a question you're not going to reject me. You're going to be constantly giving to me. It's not that I'm not going to reject you. We're being good boys, and I tell you I'm not going to reject you. Why should you reject me? I'm being a good boy. You never tell me you're not going to give me a punishment. Why should you want to give me a punishment? They have to tell me you're not. We're being good girls. Why you're not going to tell me? Why are you going to tell me you're not going to give me a punishment? Why should you give me a punishment? I'm doing everything good. Why should you reject me? You could say that even after you do everything bad, I'm still not going to reject. I'll still be close to you. Okay? That's something that you could say later on. And Pasuk, when it talks about the klalos, later on it says that concept. It says, even when you've I won't reject you to destroy you. But at this point you listen to mitzvahs, why tell I'm not going to reject you? So Moshe says a beautiful idea. That when you listen to the mitzvah, he says two pshat, one in the beginning, the first chelek of the Dorish Moshe, and one in the back, when they printed the second chelek in the back of the Dorish Moshe. In the first chelek, he says, a lot of times when a person does mitzvahs, everybody in this room, it applies to everyone in this room. Because everyone in this room does mitzvahs, constantly learns, and everyone is growing, everyone is doing a lot of great things. But there's always a concern that a person might say, there's always a concern that people might say, look how much I'm doing. Do I have to push myself more? Do I have to go in and do more than what I'm doing? Look at me. I come to Minyan in the morning. People say, I'm a great guy. Look what I do. I come to Minyan. I learn. I do mitzvahs, whatever. There's always a concern that when you go ahead and when you're doing mitzvahs, you'll be satisfied with what you're doing. And you will not say to yourself, I want to do more. I want to do more. I want to do more. The Moshe says, the language of Moshe, I don't have the language in front of me, but I wrote it in my notes. A person, I need to worry. Maybe I'm not doing enough according to my ability. Everyone is blessed with great abilities over here, right? Every person is blessed with different types of abilities. For everyone's ability, you have to say to yourself, you guys, you're very brilliant, you're very smart, you're very capable, you're very intelligent. So there's a lot expected of you. Okay, I know a lot of this, I know a lot, but you can know much more of that. You can know much more of Torah. Look how great you are. Look how intellectual everyone is. And you're young. You're vibrant. You have a lot of strength. There's more expected of you. You could juggle more. You're juggling so much. You could juggle much more. Our job is to push ourselves and not to be satisfied with what we've accomplished in life. Not be satisfied with what we accomplished when we learned in Israel. Not be satisfied with whatever we accomplished during this year. We've got to do more and more. And that's a person always has to go for more and more when it comes to spiritual growth. Never to be satisfied. Always to be concerned, but what could I do more? What could I do better? My father, Rabbi London, was always like that regarding Torah activism. What can we do more? We got more to do. What do we got to do? We got to do more. What else can we do? Right? And that's not only whether it's in Torah activism, for everyone to be active. What can we do more for the Jewish community? What can we do more to make the Jewish community a stronger community? What can we do more to get more people to come to the Minyan, more people come to learning, more people to keep mitzvahs? What can we do more? We can't just say, okay, we're happy. We all have the responsibility. It's not just the Gabba's responsibility. We all have the responsibility. Everyone has to share. That's what there's in this week's parsha also. It says, "V'koshlo ish ba'achiv." A person will stumble with his brother. When you're stumbling over your brother, we're all going to stumble. People are punished for their brother's sins. V'kosh leish ba'achiv. It says in the Tochacha. We are held responsible for our we will fall. Chas v'shalom. People are taken ba'achiv because if our brother did not do our mitzvahs and we have the ability to encourage them to do something better, we are responsible. So that's the idea of lo sigal nafshi eschem. The pasuk saying when it's talking about you keeping the mitzvot, Hashem saying, and I'm not going to reject you. You're not, and you're going to do it in a way that I'm going to be happy with you. I'm not going to be upset with you. I'm not going to punish you for not doing as much as you could do. It's not just that people get punished for doing. Torah says don't eat blood, don't eat pork, don't talk lashon hara, don't do this, don't. That's not only there's an onish, there's a punishment for not doing. Not for doing things that you shouldn't be doing, but there's a punishment. There's a punishment for not being proactive, not pushing ourselves to doing more and more. I don't mean anyone should push themselves to go crazy. You see what I'm saying? But the point is, we all have abilities to push ourselves within reason and within that we could push ourselves. If we have the ability, let's push ourselves. You know, until you push yourself, you don't realize how much you could push yourself. Let's give you a little example. If anybody ever took upon themselves to give a share. Right? There are people in this room, give chaburis, give shiurim, right? People have given, make presentations, Torah presentations. How many times you've gotten up early in the morning and you push yourself to prepare for that class and you presented such a beautiful thing? Because you pushed yourself. It's healthy to push ourselves. It's healthy to accept upon ourselves to do certain, take some Torah projects. As the pasuk says, Tov legever kisa ol be'nurav. You have to take upon that yoke. We're supposed to take upon that responsibility. So that's the first thing Moshe says. And in the second chilek, he says another idea. V'lo sigol nafshi eschem. Hashem says, I'm not going to reject you. You keep your mitzvah. What are you telling me? I'm not going to reject you. Why should you want to reject you? So he says that there's sometimes when people do mitzvos, there's doing mitzvos and there's doing mitzvos. There's a guy going ahead and going through the road. Is that the expression? It's going ahead, just doing it by road. Yesterday I did it. I'm doing it today the way I'm doing it, the same way. Just yesterday I put on tefillin. Last week I keep Shabbos. I kept Shabbos. Last week I keep Shabbos. Every week I keep Shabbos. But without a simcha, there are people that go through. They do the mitzvahs, but they don't appreciate what they're doing. They don't enjoy it. They don't have an eslavus. They don't have an enthusiasm in doing it. And that's also a very big concern. So here we're talking about keeping the mitzvahs. Here we're talking about doing the mitzvahs. We're in the Bechukosai. We're in the beginning of Bechukosai about the brachos. But Hashem is saying it's going to be also that lo sigol nafshi, I'm not going to reject you. I'm going to be satisfied with the way you're doing your mitzvahs. That you're doing the mitzvahs with an enthusiasm and with a simcha. Like it says in Pirkei Avos. If you daven every day and you daven in a way like, I daven yesterday, I daven today, it's not such a, the davening is not such a strong, as powerful as if you daven every day. You're supposed to try to add something into the davening before the Yilerotz and add a new thing that you need to ask for, or add something, focus on a bracha a little bit more. So that's the idea of lo sigol nafshi eschem. I won't reject you. You're going to be doing the mitzvahs with a great slavus, with a great simcha, with a great happiness, with a great appreciation. That how lucky I am that I have the mitzvah. Therefore, and that's the idea. It should be in our eyes like every day. We have bagels on the table. We all like a fresh bagel. It's supposed to be, Torah is supposed to be like a fresh bagel. It's supposed to be every day. It's supposed to be fresh. It's supposed to be new. There's a great story about a great Gaon, a Meir Chil from Ostrov's the Rabbi. His father was a baker. You know the story. If you don't know it, now you hear it. His father was a baker. And there was a great asifa of great Rebbes in Europe. And every rabbi would say over Torah from his father. The Ger Rebbe would say from his father, the Belzer from his father. The Ger Rebbe, his father was, wow. And the Belzer, his father, everyone's telling him, what is a Meir Chil from Ostrov's going to tell him from his father? His father was a bagel man. He baked bagels. What is he going to say? His father was a pious man. So he gets up there to speak and he says, my father said. Everyone said, what is he going to say for my father said? So he said, my father said, a fresh bagel is better than an old bagel. And he said his own Chiddushei Torah. He said it's meaning to say, everyone else, you're all saying from your father. I'm saying, you're repeating from what your father had said in the past. Which is beautiful. Chazor is important. But also to say new, say your own Chiddush, your own freshness. New bagel is better than an old bagel. Right? So that's the idea of Torah. Has to also be a freshness. Shouldn't be stale. Shouldn't be dry. Judaism, people are supposed to be fresh and realize. And that's the idea of Lo sigol nafshi eschem. And the Medrash also interesting. The Parshat, the Medrash says, it talks about the importance. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. The Torah teaches derech eretz. When a person does a mitzvah, he should do it b'leiv sameach. Okay, we do a mitzvah, do it with such a heart of simcha. The Medrash says, and a very famous Medrash. She'ilu haya Ruven yodea. If Ruven would know that Hashem would write about him, vayishma Ruven vayasileu miyadam. As you know the story with the brothers selling Ruven, selling Yosef. It says Ruven had in mind to save Yosef. It says he saved him from his brothers because the brothers wanted to kill him. He said, "Don't kill him, don't kill him, don't pour his blood, throw him into the pit." And the Torah says about him, vayasileu miyadam. He saved them. He would have realized that he would have taken Yosef, put him on his shoulders, and bring him to his father. And be able to go. He would have the power and the strength to go up against his brothers. He would not be do half the job. He would do the whole job. He would realize the power, the strength of the simcha of the mitzvah, recognizing the greatness of what he did. He would have went ahead, and he would have given him. He would have taken to his father. Less known is the second part of the Medrash. The second part of the Medrash is connected to Rus, which is coming up soon in Shavuos, where it says, if Boaz would have known that Hashem writes about Boaz when he supported Rus, when Rus came to his field and he gives her some food, Vayitzbot la koli, he gave her certain parts, he gave her some wheat. What would have been a golem petumim hayamachila? He would have given her the most fatty calves. I don't know if she would eat, maybe she'd be on a diet, but he would have given her the best, the best meat. What's the point? The point is, if we would understand and appreciate the greatness of the act that we're doing, if we would appreciate the greatness of the mitzvah, you know what? We would even do much more. We would do it in a much better way. But sometimes we don't. I mean, now of course it's hard to know. Obviously, Boaz appreciated the mitzvah, but maybe if he would have realized, sometimes we don't even realize it. As much as you appreciate it, you don't. Right? Everyone appreciates Shabbos. Everyone appreciates. But if we would get to the next level, I mean, I'm just quoting the Medrash. The Medrash says what he would have done if they would have. So he would. If you appreciate what you're doing, you would go ahead and you would do it in a much better.
Doesn't that mission also have a bit about Aharon?
Could be.
Aaron would have brought a marching band.
Very good, excellent. Right. If he would have known what the Torah says, very good about Aaron, excellent. V'ra'acha v'samach b'libo. That it says about Aaron that when Moshe was given an appointment for this position, he would have known that the Torah says about Aaron that Aaron did not have any feelings of jealousy, that he was happy for his brother getting the position. He would have went out to greet his brother, the tupim mechos with a band and so on and so forth. Again, he would have taken it to the next level. He would have done so much more. And so when I gave a class in Baruch College this week, I said, if you guys would realize how great it is for you to come to the share, you would have ran to the class. Right? Meaning to say, if you understand and you appreciate what something is, you would do it in a much greater fashion. So I think this is something that we have to contemplate. We have to think ourselves regarding the different mitzvahs that we have. And the great opportunities, all the mitzvahs are great opportunities for the Shabbos. All the great opportunities that we have to really appreciate and do it in a tremendous simcha. You know, if you do the mitzvah with a leig sameach, you know, it's the same thing with a lulav and an esrog. I think if people understand, appreciate the mitzvah lulav and esrog, they would buy a nicer lulav and esrog, right? Because if they appreciate it, you would do it in a better fashion. Also, the idea, you know, also the Medrash talks about the idea of Yosef Masha Balabayis Osamani, a rich man, when you do the mitzvah of a loan, or you give tzedakah to a poor person, more that you're doing for the poor person is doing for you. And also it brings a pasuk from Rus, because Rus says to Naomi, Shema Ish, the name of the man, Asher Osisi Imo Hayom Boaz. It's the one that I did for him today. Who's the man that I did for him? No, she did for him. The Medrash says, Asher Osisi, it should say, he did for me. He, Boaz, gave to me. I did for Boaz. Asher Osisi, I did. I, Rus, did for him. I received from him. What do you mean I did for him? No. El Asher Osisi Imo Amrolo Harbi Pulos V'tovos, many great things I did for him because of the prusa shenasan li. Because of what he gave me, he gave me something. He gave me some tzedakah. I gave him back. He got so much. He got from it. You know, as we know that tzedakah tatzah mavis. When you go ahead and you do tzedakah and so on and so forth, it protects from mavis and death and also other things, many great things. And I wanted to say on that point that I think the fact that Hashem gives such great reward for a person who does tzedakah, that he gets, like the Chazal is saying, you're getting back better, even you're getting better on your return. You're getting more than the person that actually you gave to. I think could give a little pride or something, a good feeling to a poor person. When a poor person has to collect money, it's a terrible thing, terrible embarrassment. He feels embarrassed, he feels shamed, he feels bad. But at the same time, at least he could feel when he goes up, when he knocks the door of that rich man, or when he calls up the man and he says, you know what, I need some money. At least he could feel, you know what, I'm helping him more than he's helping me. Of course, I got to be appreciative, and of course, I got to say thank you, and of course, I have to, have a curse at tov to him. But yet, he could feel, he should realize for himself that, you know what, I am doing him a big favor as well, and therefore that should give him a little bit of strength to go over and knock on a door. I think it says that B'nai Eretz Yisrael, the speech, it says that B'nai Eretz Yisrael, you can learn from their speech. That I think in Eretz Yisrael, they would go over, the poor person would say to the rich man, Zachay bi, merit through me. You go over to the rich man and say, I'm going to give you a schus. Meaning he said to the rich man, you'll have a schus for me, you'll have kapara through me. That's how the people in Eretz Yisrael spoke, meaning to say, they said, when you give the people in Eretz Yisrael, when you gave them the poor person, you, the rich man, are getting a merit from it. So I think by the fact that Hashem promises and gives great rewards to the rich people by giving tzedakah to the poor, gives us a little bit of, strength to the poor person to go ahead and being willing to get up the guts to ask for money. There are some people that don't want to ask for money when they need the money, and they put their lives in danger as a result of that. At least more in the old days, as you know. If they didn't want to ask for money and they were poor, they have no bread on the table, they didn't want people to know they have no bread on the table, and people died. If there's no bread on the table in the olden days. There was a wild story I read about Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, that one of his kids died. The tzaddik, not Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, the one from tzaddik from Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Aryeh Levine, sorry. Aryeh Levine. One of his kids died before, in the early 1900s. Also, there was no food on the table, and maybe the kid was sick or whatever it was, and there wasn't not enough nutrition, and the kid died. It's not just something that happened thousands of years ago. Okay. Getting back to the Parshat, the pasuk says, Perek Chafei, on this point that we're saying, Pasuk Chafei Lamed Vav, it talks about Chei Achicha Imach. Right? So you should go ahead and your brother should live with you. That means you should support him through you. But it doesn't say from you. It says that imach, with you. So Rabbi Feinstein explains that imach means you're going to also live. As a result of you taking care of your brother, right? Because you're taking care of your brother, you're going to go ahead and you're going to live. You're going to merit life. With tzedakah tatzah mavis, giving charity will prevent death, and you're also going to live as a result of that. So he says, we all know, we say tshuva tefillah tzedakah mavir nasra gzeira, right? In the Mauser, it says on top of the word tshuva, it says som. Top of the word tzedakah, it says mamon, and on top of the word tefillah, it says kol. Right? And you should know the Mashgiach Rabbi Birnbaum from Tveres Yerushalayim did not feel that the translation of tshuva is som as a fast, because a fast is not tshuva. A fast may bring you to do tshuva. It's a chelik, but it's not.
Yeah, but I think the point is that they use those three words because they all have the same gematria.
Right. But the point of those three words,
you do tshuva through som.
Right, exactly. Through the tzom you could do tshuva, so and so. Very good. So if you know the gematria of kol, right, from mamon, right, tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, that tefillah is kol. If you take the letter vav, the pronunciation of the word, you don't need the vav for the pronunciation. So if you take out the vav from Mammon. Tzedakah is mammon. Tefillah is kol, and tzedakah and som is shuva. Each one equals 130. Kol is 130, mammon is 130, and som is 130.
136.
With the vav. If you take out with the vav it's 136. But if you take out the vav, because the pronunciation of the word is not necessary for the vav. So Rabbi Feinstein writes in his Paparos L'Chacham, Seasonings of the Torah, that imach also equals. Imach, v'cheyachicha imach, equals also 130. So what's the point? That you will live with, so I don't know, I can explain his point this way. You could live, v'cheyachicha imach, if you have that one, that tefillah, tshuva tzedakah, which equals 130, that will equal you. That will make you, that will help you live. The imach, the 130, that you equal 130, you will live because of that tshuva tzedakah, of that 130. These tshuva tzedakah, which is 130, equals you. That's going to make you, as Hashem, help you live. I'll just conclude with interesting Sefer Chinuch. The Sefer Chinuch writes, now I don't know if he writes it on this pasuk, but in Perich Vav pasuk Aleph, we have it again that the Torah writes about the Isser of Avodah Zarah. Perich Vav pasuk Aleph, it says, right? It says, "Lo sas lechem elilim and pesach maseva." Don't make yourself Avodah Zarah. In the Torah, it says 44 times. It talks about not doing Avodah Zarah, and it talks about Shabbos 12 times. Why does the Torah repeat Shabbos so many times, Avodah Zarah so many times? So obviously, the things that are primary, everything's important, but certain things are so important, so we have to put extra emphasis on. You repeat it many times, right? Like a parent will repeat to a child, don't put your hand next to the fire. Won't just say it once. Say it many times. Don't run across the street. They'll say it many times. Certain things you got to put extra emphasis. So Shabbos and Avodah Zarah were two of the things that Hashem felt it was necessary to constantly repeat it to show you the importance and the severity of it. And also he says maybe that's why, if you notice, there's 39 malachas by Shabbos, and there's only a few malachas that the Torah goes out of its way to specify. And the Gemara has drushes. Why does the Torah say, Shabbos, don't make a fire on Shabbos, and also learn certain halachas of carrying on Shabbos. The Torah specifies don't carry on Shabbos according to that shot, is because these mitzvahs need extra strength, need extra focus. Not making a fire on Shabbos. Today people have a problem turning on lights on Shabbos. So the people who are not as strong in their observance. The hardest is for some people, like Rabbi, a guy told me yesterday in LIU. Rabbi, if I don't, one guy said, if I keep Shabbos but I turn on lights, how is that looked at? So I said, of course, every part of Shabbos that you keep, you get reward. Every part of Shabbos you don't keep, you're gonna be taken to task. It's not. But the fact that you turn on lights doesn't mean that you should not keep the rest of the Shabbos. Of course, you got. Obviously, he hopes that he's going to graduate. That he's not going to turn on lights. But it's interesting that the Torah goes out of its way to specify don't making fire on Shabbos. So that's going to be something that people are going to have difficulty with. Carrying is a problem. Carrying is a problem. The people need extra strength. Torah goes out of its way to talk about that. The way the Chinuch explains. So we should be zocheh to strengthen ourselves, and hopefully we'll strengthen ourselves and encourage others to do the right things. And I want to wish everyone a very good Shabbos. And also, I'm going to just leave with a recommendation. The first pasuk in the Chukosai has 42 pshatim with the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. So I recommend people to take a look at the first pasuk in the Chukosai. In the Chukosai Telechu, look at the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. I think there's 42 pshatim. Okay? And it'll keep you nice and busy with nice, beautiful, great pshatim. Okay, I want to wish everyone a beautiful Shabbos.